Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be covering the topic of cloud computing. What is it? Why do we need it? Why do we use it? So what is cloud computing? The official definition is an on-demand delivery of server resources via the internet. That's it. That's all it is. So what do we mean by server resources? Things that we could provide in cloud computing are things like compute power, CPU cycles, databases, storage on disk or in memory, any kind of caching service, and web hosting. Those are the typical types of things that we talk about when we say this is cloud computing. So why? Why do we want cloud computing? Well, what is traditional hosting? What do we think of when we think, oh, I want to host something on the internet? Well, I have to go out, I have to buy a server. I have to make sure, is my server big enough to serve all the traffic that I currently have? And can I scale it so that I can serve even more traffic on this service in the future? I also need to go out and buy a dedicated internet connection so that I am always up and available to anyone who wants to access my application. I need to make sure it stays cool. If I don't, it's going to overheat and light on fire or just stop working or break in unexpected ways. So I need to invest in cooling the space, especially if I scale out and start adding multiple servers. The more servers I add, the worse the problem gets and the more of a dedicated cooling solution I need. Speaking of scaling out, I need floor space to scale out. I need lots of room to put all of these machines that I'm putting into this room. Do I have the room to add more servers? And when do I start running out of space? How many servers can I actually hold? Who replaces these broken machines? They do break down over time. They're up and running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Eventually, they just wear out and break down. How are they going to get replaced? Is that me? Or do I need to hire someone dedicated to replacing those? And what happens if I lose power to the building? Do I invest in backup generators? Do I buy my own power plant like some of the biggest data centers in the world? What do I do in this case? Do I just have mad customers because they can't access the service anymore? These are all the questions we need to ask in traditional hosting. But with cloud computing, what we get is a managed infrastructure. They own the buildings. They own the floor space. They own the server racks. They own the physical machines themselves. They take care of all of that for you. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, instead of buying a whole machine, I'm going to buy a sliver of a machine, a slice of a server, a small piece of virtual machine running on a larger fleet of overall machines. I have instant scalability. I can say I need 50 of these shards up and running, and it will scale up to that size almost instantly. I can expand into multiple regions. The biggest cloud providers have data centers spread all over the world. If I decide to open in the West Coast and I don't want the lag time from running my company in the East Coast, all I have to do is reprovision servers in the West Coast data center, and there I have it. I can even move overseas to Japan, to Australia, to other parts of Asia, Europe, anywhere in the world. I can spin up servers nearly instantly. And it automates the entire hardware upgrade process, okay? They manage those machines. They tell me what generation they're on. They tell me what requirements they have for me, and they take care of it. If a machine no longer meets requirements, they unplug it, pull it out, and my stuff moves to another machine. That's the benefit of cloud computing. So what is a shared infrastructure? What are we talking about here? What do we mean? Well, we have a bunch of virtual machine images that we create, and these images get burned onto the machines whenever they're needed. That's how we can scale to multiple machines. Typically in a cloud, by default, you get shared tenancy, which means if I do not use an entire server, I don't have to pay for the whole server because another company might come in and take up that spare space, and they pay for only the piece they're using. I pay for only the piece I'm using. We never see each other. We never know we're running on the same machines, but we are, and that makes it more cost efficient. You can get dedicated tenancy where I want an entire machine to myself, but I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to pay to reserve the entire machine and not let anyone else's stuff run on the same machine as mine. We share database resources. We share storage resources. We share the entire infrastructure. It's all virtually segmented. All of these clouds exist as virtual clouds. No, I don't know what happens outside of my virtual cloud. I am at the network level cut off from all of the other virtual clouds that exist in those systems. And what do I mean by on-demand resources? Well, they have a huge surplus. AWS, one of the biggest names in this space, this started because they needed to scale up for Thanksgiving, for Black Friday. They needed to be able to handle the huge rush of traffic. But then the entire rest of the year, they just had those servers sitting there doing nothing. So what did they do? They started renting them out to other companies. And that's where this entire idea of having these huge cloud systems came from, is they have all the resources, they invested in all of it, but now you're renting the space from them. So they have this huge surplus. There's a much faster startup time because of the virtual environments than spinning up an entire new server. I don't have to pull the server out, plug it in, get it hooked up to the internet, get it configured, get it updated. Instead, I'm running in a virtual environment that runs on top of servers that are already up, hot, ready to go, ready to use. You can make this even faster if you migrate into container technology, where you don't have to install the entire low-level image. Instead, you're running in a Docker container or a similar technology on top of an already running hot environment ready to go. We can provision entire new services very quickly. If I need a new database, it takes a matter of minutes to spin up that entire new database, instead of days or hours in traditional world. Scalability is also a huge benefit to cloud computing. Their infrastructure is massive, globally scaling, humongous data centers, and I can take advantage of that as a developer. They're distributed all around the world. They have extra capacity, nearly always ready. Now, it isn't always ready. That is a misnomer. There are cases where if I need a very specific type of machine, they only have a limited number of those already ready to go. But if they run out of that, I can always migrate to another machine type and fill that capacity as needed. Okay? And it can be done completely dynamically based off of metrics that I'm reading off of my own system. Oh, I'm starting to flood this server. Let's spin up another one. It will take me less than a minute to do so. So, what about the cost? Are we paying as much for cloud computing as we do for on-premise solutions? That depends. At the small scale, no. We usually pay per hour or even per microsecond in some cases. Okay, so we're only paying for how long we're running, and we only pay for how many resources we actually use. So it's a very low cost to get started. There's an economy of scale here. They've already scaled out to this massive size, so we're taking advantage of that. We don't have to pay rent for facilities. However, there is an argument to be made that once you reach Amazon scale or Google scale, if you ever do, it might be more cost effective to run your own data centers. But those companies are few and far between, so don't count on your company ever needing that. But if they do, know that it is an option. Another benefit of cloud computing is worldwide access, right? So we have data centers all around the world. Each region is spread into multiple availability zones. An availability zone is simply two data centers in the same global region, but 60, 70, 100 miles apart so that they're on different city infrastructure and they run the less of a risk of going out at the same time. So if you have two or more availability zones per region, that means that region is considered highly available. Okay. If one AZ goes down, the other is available for you to still run your services on. And if you're talking about CDNs, such as CloudFront in the AWS world, We're talking about edge servers spread to even more places than exist in the AZs. Thousands of edge locations spread around the world so that people accessing your websites will get nearly instant connections to your applications. The response times can be less than 100 milliseconds, even in some of the most remote locations in the world, because of this infrastructure that they have built for you. So, now you know what cloud computing is, the benefits of cloud computing, and why you should even be looking at it. So hopefully this helped you grasp the concept in general. If you have any questions, post them in the comments down below. I'll answer them for you. If you liked this, go ahead and hit that up button so that everyone knows that you enjoyed it. And subscribe to the channel so that you can get access to even more of these great videos. Thank you all so much. I look forward to seeing you